Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks for joining me today. I want to show my knife med kit. This is a little pouch that I put together for it's really a knife maintenance kit. I just keep a little cross on there for fun. I showed this a little bit in some other previous videos, and when you handle as many knives as I do and you kind of deal with them almost every day, you begin to think, well, everybody probably has all of the same knife maintenance tools that I do, right? Like everybody knows what screwdriver bits to use or what tools they should have in their toolkit to do a lot of knife modifications or just repairs or fixes or replacing bearings or springs or whatever the case may be. And, I tend to forget that there's a lot of people that are still new to this hobby and may not know what tools they should have in a good toolkit. So I want to show you that today and what I keep in my kit. Especially when you deal with the kind of knives that we tend to deal with here on the channel, you definitely are going to need a decent set of tools because you're probably going to be opening them up and doing some adjustments and tweaking and fixing some things and replacing some bearings and whatnot. Before we dive into it, I just want to show you what's on the outside of this pouch because this is pretty cool. I actually got this on Temu. This is rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. You can buy it, a nice big jar of it, a plastic container for just a few bucks at any local drugstore, dollar stores carry them, and it's just a very flat plastic spray bottle basically, and you pull this top out is how it comes out, and you pour your alcohol down in there. But if you're doing when you need to clean your knives, like if you're replacing bearings or even just going inside the knife to clean it up, you'll see a lot of black gunk in there that accumulates and dirt and debris and all that. Rubbing alcohol, I use 90%, but you can use 70%. It comes in a variety of percentages. I just got the strongest one, thinking, well, that might be the best. So, and I think a lot of other knife enthusiasts will use that version too. Anywhere from 70 to 90% is just going to all be the same and do a great job. So it just so happens I got this for a couple of bucks on Temu, and I thought, well, that is just perfect for me to stick in the front of this pouch. So I always have some rubbing alcohol. You'll see inside the kit I have some more as well. So let's dive on into the inside. Of course, you need to have some kind of microfiber type cloth that you don't mind getting dirty. We all get a million of these come in all the little knife pouches, and when you buy a knife, almost all of them include some kind of nice little microfiber cloth. And so I always keep one in here that I don't mind getting dirty. You can see I've already started using this one as well, and swap them out from time to time, but these will last for just about forever. You can see this is where I've just been cleaning some pivots in there. All right, let's dive into the left side of the pouch here, and we'll go from left to right. I've showed this before. I got these on Temu. I think I got a pack of 5 of these for like $3 to $5. I can't remember the exact price. You can get them anywhere. You can get them on Amazon too for basically about the same. These are not titanium. You don't need the fancy ones, but these come in very handy for prying off knife scales. Even you take the screws out, sometimes those scales don't want to pop off, and so you can go in and just kind of gently nudge it with this little wedge here. I'm sure it has many other great uses as well. Supposedly this is a nail puller. Haven't tried using it, but definitely you want something that you can get in there and pry with. Always be careful. You don't want to scratch up any valuable knives, but most of the knives we deal with, we don't care about too much if inside the scales get a little bit of a scratch, but you'll always need something to pry with. The bits. So I actually have 2 different sets of bits here. So this larger one didn't come like this. I bought a pack of bits that had these security holes in them, and that's what these they call these security bits. There's going to be some, I guess, Torx bits out there in the world that have a little nub sticking up in the middle of them, and unless you have the ones with these holes, it doesn't work. I've never found that case to use these on, but I wanted to make sure these are not 𝗨𝗏 bits. So these were less expensive. Got them, I think, on Amazon. I think they are still oh, this is DeWalt. That's what it is. So these are pretty good bits, actually. DeWalt is a well-known brand. If you don't know power tools, DeWalt is very popular. So they'll be a pretty good brand, and you want to look for decent steel quality. And so that's what most of these are. But I'm going to tell you, these are kind of my backup secondary. You will run into some situations where you've got a screw on both sides, and you start turning one side and you realize the other side is turning as well. So in that case, what you're going to need is the same bit to go on both sides, and it's usually the same size, like they're both T6s on both sides or T8s on both sides. That's where this finger bit will come in. We'll talk about that in a minute, but anyhow, you probably may need 2 different sets of the same bits because of that scenario. So I have this one. It's a little bit cheaper, but DeWalt is still not cheap. So those are pretty good bits. Bits are critically important. These are all 𝗨𝗏 bits. These are the ones that come in that big green container. I'll put something up on the side of the screen here that everybody, you can see them sliding out, but it's like a big giant container for these. I think it's like 10 bits. And I'm like, I don't want to carry that giant container everywhere. As you can see, I literally just took an old bit holder from some other cheap pack. I wiped off all whatever was on it before and wrote my own out 5 through 25 here. These are 𝗨𝗏 bits. The reason you want to use 𝗨𝗏 bits is because they fit the best. They're the best quality, and especially when you're dealing with like a T6 size bit, man, you don't want to strip out the screws. And what'll happen is some other lower quality bits will use cheap steel, first of all, so it'll start to strip even the bit itself. The edges will get worn away, and then it's going to be loose in that screw. That's when you start stripping the screws out of your knife, and that's a bad situation because then it's a real pain in the rear end to try to extract that screw, or you're just never going to get into your knife, and that's a no good situation either. So the one thing that you want to invest in, good quality bits, get some good 𝗨𝗏 bits. I have links for all this stuff down below, probably a bunch of Amazon links. Those are affiliate links, so I may make a couple of pennies if you use it, but you'd be supporting me. That would be certainly friendly and helpful to me. But it's not a big deal. You can find these on Amazon just as easily if you just want to do your own search. But 𝗨𝗏, don't skimp on having a good quality. This is the one thing in this kit that I have invested in really good quality stuff. So the bits, critically important. Obviously, you're going to be using those more than anything else. Just always keep a couple of Q-tips. I always have another container of Q-tips sitting nearby somewhere because you need those to wipe down. This is another way to do the alcohol. So this is also a plastic container. I think this is 2 cc's. I think that plastic one on the front is like 4 cc's maybe, so twice as much as this one, but just another spray bottle. Again, got this on Temu. I think it was $1 or $2 at most. This one screws off so you can unscrew it right here in the middle, pour in your rubbing alcohol, and then you can use that to squirt down your knives as you're trying to work on them and clean them. So that's a really good thing to have. Back here, I've got a couple of tools from the Skiff Workshop. You've seen these before on my Skiff bearing replacements. I have no affiliation with these guys. I don't even have like a discount code or anything for them. Although, I'm going to tell you, I think you can use Lefty EDC's code, and that'll get you some savings on there. So if you want that, you can use that. Anyhow, I have no affiliation, but if you want to buy Skiff bearings, you really need to have one of these. You don't have to. You can use a set of calipers and measure all these measurements with your calipers. So if you have calipers, which is another good tool that obviously don't keep in my kit because it's not going to fit, but this is certainly something that I use as a reviewer because I'm always measuring the thickness of the knives and the steel and behind the edge and different measurements that I want to have pretty precise measurements on. So a good set of calipers. I got these on Amazon. I'll put a link down below if you want these too. This is maybe 17 to 20 bucks, I think, somewhere in that range, but don't quote me on that. Again, I'll put a link down below. Anyhow, if you want to replace Skiff bearings, you need to know what your pivot size is, so that's down the right side, and you need to know the thickness, the thickness of those bearings, and you'll basically see what is the smallest slot that it fits into, and that will tell you the thickness of the bearing. So you need these 2 measurements in order to order replacement bearings for your knife. All right, the finger bit, as I mentioned, you probably already got the idea. You can take and put a bit. These are made, has a little magnet at the top. These are pretty cool. This also comes from the Skiff Workshop. These are kind of expensive. I think they're like 15 bucks for an aluminum one, which is not bad. But they also have some 3D printed plastic ones if they have them in stock that are much cheaper, like 5 to 10 bucks if you just want. But if you have a knife and you need to get the screws on both sides, you basically hold this on one side, and now you take your bit driver and you can unscrew that. That's what you deal. That's how you deal with those spinning pivot screws, is by using. Of course, you could take 2 different bit drivers and try to go, but man, that's really hard to do and keep the knife in place. So using this, now I can hold the knife and the bit driver in only have to worry about one hand. All right, so bit drivers themselves, I got this on Temu. This does have a spinning top. It's not like a fidget spinner. It's not going to spin forever, but it spins all you need it to do, so that when you hold it, I think I got this for $7. It's aluminum. Pretty good. The grippiness is good on it. The bits don't flex in there too much. That's another issue. You don't want too much rocking back and forth for your bits in there. Magnetic, so it does hold it. You can see these are two very different lengths of bit drivers. Some people like them longer. Some people like them shorter. I can't tell you the difference. I have never said, oh, this one feels different than this one when I'm actually using it to screw or unscrew something. So maybe that's a personal preference thing. I've mentioned this before. I got this on AliExpress. This one is a little bit more fidgety. That has ball bearings in the top. You can see it spins a good while, so it doubles as maybe like a little fidget spinner you can annoy your friends with. Or your co-workers if you keep it at your office. Anyhow, this is a nice little cool Ultim one. I think I paid $17 for this. I'll have a link down below for AliExpress. And again, magnetic. You always want a magnetic holder, but I really like, this is my primary. I keep my T8 in here, and I just always keep a T6 in here for knives that need a T6. So this is the main one that I'll use most of the time when I'm working on knives. Some of these, y'all, go for up to $100 or more on like big brand name versions of these things. These things are crazy expensive, but anyhow, AliExpress, $17, and I'm super happy with that. The other bit driver you want to have in your arsenal is this 𝗨𝗏 driver. Again, it fits, it's magnetic, and where you want this is if you get screws that are really stuck and you have to really grip down into it. Just the shape of this fits so nicely in your hand. It really allows you to get the maximum torque on a screw that's stuck. So I just keep this in case of I really have, I really need to put some rear end into it, so to speak. Let's take a look at this back here in the back. This is an interesting thing. So y'all probably have all seen this from NAFs. And this is a bit of knife memorabilia that I got. I thought that it would be cool maybe to have this ruler that I was going to be able to measure the angle, the degree angle of my knife. Y'all, that ain't gonna work. The reality is you have to try to set it exactly. There's instructions. It comes with instructions. It tells you, you're supposed to stand this thing up on its end, and then you put your knife blade down against one of those angles, and you try to figure out which one it fits perfectly into. Well, that beveled angle on most knife blades is so small and tiny. Maybe it's just my old eyes, but trying to measure, is this one, does it fit this one better than this one or better than this one? And if you're just holding the knife 1 degree off, you're not going to be able to know which one it fits. So the reality is I haven't found a way to effectively use this. Maybe y'all have found some better way to use the knife angle I guess, measurement tools. It just doesn't work. But for me, it's a cool piece of knife memorabilia. It's a decent little ruler. It only goes to 6 inches is the problem, so I can measure blades with it, but you can't measure a whole knife because most knives are more than 6 inches long unless you only deal with little tiny short knives. So it's cool, but this is probably one that you could skip. Again, I got no relationship with them, obviously. Loctite. So a lot of people like to, and it's a good idea to Loctite your pivot screws. Once you get a knife dialed in, you've replaced the bearings, maybe you put some skiff bearings in it, you've got it all lubricated and cleaned up and ready to go, and you have a lot of knives where the more you flip them, that pivot screw starts backing out and loosening up. You get a little blade play. Well, you put Loctite on that pivot screw, and you can do it on body screws as well, so that it just doesn't, the screws don't back themselves out as you're using it. That's what this is for. And you always want to use the blue, because the red is permanent, basically. If you use red Loctite, you're kind of screwing yourself, because it's going to be real hard to get that off again. What you'd have to do is heat it up with a heat gun and then hope that you can break it free. And we're talking about tiny screws, so they'll strip a lot of times. Use the blue. But the other choice is drops. They have like liquid drops. You don't want the liquid drops because that stuff gets everywhere. This is that thick glue stick type stuff, and you literally just stick the end of the screw down into that, pick up a little bit on the screw threads, and that like dispenses the perfect amount. It's no mess, easy. This thing will last you a lifetime. You use so little of it. It's kind of crazy, but you do want some of this, and get the stick. Save yourself the time and hassles. it's buy once forever, for like lifetime. And unless you're like a knife repair shop, you're not ever going to go through that. Same thing with the lubricants. So this is the KPL original. This is probably the do-all lube that you want to start with. If you don't have any lubrication at all, this is a good one. There's other brands out there that are good too, but KPL is like the big dog in this business. This is basically a lightweight. This is a 15 weight. There is a lighter. There is a 10 weight you can get, but there's also a heavy. So once you have one of these, then the next one you want to get, and I don't have it here today, it's on the way, I just ordered one, is a KPL heavy or a heavier weight like an 85. That is what you want to use really on like your detent track, your detent ball track, metal on metal type of kind of anywhere there's pressure rubbing. You want to use this on your bearings. So anytime I install a set of bearings, or even if I'm just taking apart a knife and cleaning it out and I'm cleaning the bearings, I'll literally spray the bearings down with some alcohol and get all the gunk cleaned out of them as best as I can. And then when it's time to put it back in the knife, you throw a few drops of this KPL original into those bearings, rub them around a little bit, put them down in the pocket, and you are ready to go. So this is ideal for your bearings to keep your knives flipping out nice and smoothly. That just about ends it. I keep down here just because it magnetically sticks to the button in here, a magnet. This is just me being able to test, is this knife made of titanium or aluminum, or is it just steel scales? And this is just my quick and easy way. I also keep one on my desk that I have on a piece of rope here. And you'll see, you know, obviously it will attract and stick to anything metal. Although it's somehow, it's opposite of this. So these two are opposites. That's why it's not wanting to go to that metal very easily. Anyhow, I just keep one of these in my pack just for that reason, to tell me whether am I dealing with steel scales, or is it aluminum or titanium? You know, obviously I don't know aluminum versus titanium. To test that, you're going to have to get a grinding bit out and see if it sparks or not. Titanium will spark, usually a whitish spark. Aluminum, which should not spark at all. If you get a rapidly spinning grinding bit and you put it on the inside, of course you're destroying your scales in order to do that test, but sometimes you want to do that. I don't know why. Well, because you get the cheap knives that we get. That's about it. You know, I do have this other screwdriver I got. I guess I could show this. I think this is a HOTO, H-O-T-O, and sometimes this little spinner works great and sometimes it doesn't. When it works like a champ, actually. This has got some really good bearings in the top, but this is really cool because it has all of the imaginable bits you could want. The only thing you have to be careful of is, I think I got this on Temu as well, so I'm not sure about the quality. There's a few like Work Pro that you can get on Amazon that are going to have a slightly better quality. Again, you just have to worry, especially with like that size 6 bit, that you can really wear down the edges of your bits, and that'll cause you to start stripping screws. So you really have to be careful about the quality of the bits, as I mentioned earlier. But this otherwise has been really cool. And honestly, it's never stripped a bit yet. So I should at least give it the credit where credit is due. I've used it a whole lot, and it's never stripped a screw head yet. But that doesn't mean it won't ever. But anyhow, this comes with all kinds of bits in it, both regular, Phillips, flathead. There's some of these other, cool little security bit looking things in there. So if you just want like an all-in-one, that's a great little tool to have right there as well. I keep that handy just in case I need a backup. All right, so that's it. That's all I'm going to share with you today. That is my knife maintenance kit. Hopefully y'all find some value in that. Again, I'll put links down below if y'all want to try to go and find any of these things for yourselves. Let me know if I missed anything. I mean, y'all do this as much as I do in many of y'all's cases. So did I miss anything? Should I be adding? I know I need some heavyweight lube. But what else have I missed here that really should be in this? Y'all hit me up in the comments. Let me know below. Otherwise, thanks for joining me today. If you would, give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I will see you again on the next video. Thanks. Y'all take care.